Hi everyone and welcome back. Welcome to my another video, and you can say another webinar. And in this webinar, I'm going to talk about another interesting topic is that's all about micro frontend. Okay, you might have heard of microservices and all. Now in this video, I'm going to talk about micro frontend. And I recently actually created a small demo of micro frontend in the Next.js with the help of Webpack module federation. The same I'm going to talk about in this video, how it is being done and what are the possible options you can achieve the same thing. Okay, so first of all, I'm not a big fan of micro frontend. I'm a big fan of microservices, but when it comes to the micro frontend, I'm little hesitant to do it. But let's see, people are doing it, so let's try to explore how it is being done and what are the pros and cons. So this is just a blog from ThoughtWorks. It's a nice blog. So I'm going to give the same reference of the blog. I will add the link of the blog in the description so you can also take a look. This is how we were doing it in the 2000, and then we started talking about two-tier architecture. Okay, front and back end teams. There will be two different teams, and then there is a front end team aggregation we are doing with the backend for front end or a GraphQL, and then there is a DevOps team, database team, and multiple microservices are there. So then the microservices evolved, and we try to started splitting the services into multiple services, and then respective teams are assigned to them. Then it's all about how we are doing the verticals. Let's say I'm building a product, and if I can have a 5 different teams, and these are the 5 different verticals where the team can manage the front end piece, its on back end piece, and its on database and the operations, right? So in this particular segment, I'm trying to achieve the micro front end because these respective teams may be good at their own technology stack, but when it comes to the micro front end, obviously they need to write in some technology so that we can have a compatibility and can build a micro front end setup. Okay, so I mean, this is just a typical example of a one single product which has a 5 different teams. So 5 different teams can build their own set of front end components. When this blog was written, obviously the technology was not evolved much. They were just they thought of using web components, but now there are technologies which can make this possible. I'm talking about this example. First of all, why we do it, the core ideas behind micro front-end architecture. Technology agnostic, because somebody wants to write a services in totally different backend systems, and the front end they can just write a custom elements either in Angular, React, front end, React, or maybe in any other components. Isolate team codes, because these micro frontends can be hosted in on multiple different domains, and then we are fetching their bundles from the remote locations, remote URLs, and it's like a universal team you are building which is capable of everything and anything, and individual team is responsible for their own piece of verticals, like here team inspire, team search, team product, team checkout. Okay, here you can see let's say this is just a simple front end, but here it can have a it can be this front end piece can be divided into multiple services coming from different maybe different URLs, or different teams are handling it, related products. This is the model store, and this checkout, team inspire, team checkout, team product. So micro front end is all about, okay, I am doing this front end piece, this is my whole page, and in this whole page what I want to achieve is, okay, let's say my header may be coming from service 1. This is the new bar, which is my global new for all the projects I have in my system, and this is my side new. I'm talking about a very simple example. And then this let's say the body components, and here I'm showing 3 different components, and we'll just color code them. This is coming from service 1, this is coming from service 2, this is coming from front end part 3, and this is again another building block coming from somewhere else. This is coming from somewhere else, just for a demo purpose, right? This is the side nav, and here you can say it's like a grid. table, this can be a chart, and this can be again a paginated grid. These we have configured it into multiple different services, different front-end applications. Sorry for using service word. These are like all front-end applications hosted somewhere, and we wanted to fetch these bundles runtime. Now that has been made possible somehow. We'll talk about how we are using, because with the Webpack 5 there is a concept of module federation. Of that, you can actually, when you build a project for this particular micro front end, this is, let's say, mf1, this is mf2, you can mark some components exportable, so that whenever, if you mark this component exportable from this micro front end app, then this particular exportable component can be used by another consumer app. Okay, this is how it really works. So this we are doing with the module federation. I mean, I still don't get it, what is the core idea behind it, because it's like too much configurations and too much we are doing just to achieve this simple thing. I mean, in these days, I mean, a lot of people are asking how we do this kind of a thing. I mean, back in my days, I did the same concept little differently. I mean, not the same here, like a single page is rendering a component coming from the different projects. Not like this. But if you really want to have this kind of a team segregation where different teams are handling a project, then there are many ways of doing it. Because what happens is, let's say this is my project 1, a front-end project 1, this is my front-end project 2, this is my front-end project 3. I can just have a, because they can be rendered on the domain. Here I'm not talking about one single page rendering a multiple apps. Let's say this is totally different app, because what happens is people get fascinated when they hear this word of a micro front end, and they started exploring, okay, what it is providing. But the same thing can be done just by reducing the complexity. Here, let's say I'm doing an Angular team. Here, this is being something done by the React team, and this is being done by the Svelte team. And I have this admin portal. This is, let's say, the admin UI, which manages the authentication and authorization. What I can do is I can have these shared cookies across subdomains, and this can be easily set up. Either you do it on the front using the Nginx container or something, and here this admin UI can use Nginx container, because once you do the login, you can just use a cookies. That is the enforcement that you have to use cookies, and then you can redirect post login to this application, and this application is totally built in the Angular. It has nothing to do with the micro front end architecture. It's just purely built by one particular team which is expertise in Angular, some part of the web app, but the main landing page is same. So here there are 3 building blocks, which is fetching the data from somewhere, and when you click on to these respective blocks, this data is being passed to this child app. This child app can be built in that particular technology. This is the home page, let's say the dashboard, and when you click on to these respective stuff, they are taking you to the respective projects, and it's totally Angular, totally React, totally Svelte.js. The only thing is they are just sharing the sessions through the cookies, and this can be easily set up with the help of Nginx proxy, where you can have these multiple subdomains on the local host also, where you just store the cookies on particular domain, and then all that cookies can be shared across subdomains. I mean, this is what I have done, and it feels me nice if you have some kind of this multiple teams, multiple business stakeholders, and they wanted to achieve the same results. You can build the whole application in that technology, and then these create a micro apps for these particular blocks. So this is like container. All this logic goes to this. When you click on to this, so, and you can create a nice sketchy dashboard which shows you all the aggregated data together. This is fine. Now let's talk about this module federation, how it works. So recently I created this example. I will be talking about this without writing a code. Here I have a 3 different Next.js application, and we will talk about this module federation, what it does. So I mean, it's not a new concept, it's there around some time. I'm creating this video a little late, but what it does is it is allowing you to export a component from a particular project. Let's say I have a 3 different app1, app2, app3. App3 is the container app, which is going to import the app1 component and app2 component in it. So from app1 and app2, I need to export some component. Here I'm exposing the title component and a checkout component. And then another application, which is a consumer app, will be rendering these components from something like this. I can talk about a simple example how it really works. We will see that in the application. So navbar app, so this is actually it has its own application which is running on, let's say, f1.com. This is where it is running, and I wanted to get this container from there. This side nav, this is hosted on f2. And I wanted to fetch this side nav from there. So this is green color coding is fine. And these grid tables similarly may be another application which is already hosted, and I wanted to import the modules from there. So what I need to do is I need to go to the next config. These are the Next.js project I'm going to use. From there I need to just mark these component exportable so that I can consume them at the consumer application. So if you look into the code, what do I have is I have activate, main, and this is a shell. This is a consumer, these are the providers. Provider means like I have some component which I'm exposing from them. So if we go into, this is the component Mario, a simple component, doesn't have anything. Okay, this is the Mario, and you can create any component and then make that exportable. And here we are using this module federation Next.js MF module. And what I'm doing is, if you look into this, you need to provide a namespace. Okay, this is app2, and here I'm putting the file name like, okay, once you build this is the file name it is going to generate, and this is how I'm exposing it, Mario component Mario. So this component Mario I'm exporting from this app2 container. Okay, then there is a app1, and here I have another cartoon component, which is Luigi. Okay, good day Luigi. Micro-frontend is just a simple component, and I'm doing the same thing in the next config. This is namespace is f1. This is the f1 remote entry. I mean, this is your file name. You provide what file name you want, and but here is what you are exposing. Here you can put a n number of components you wanted to export. Like, okay, I have a 10 component, just create a comma separated 10 components you are exporting from app1. And here similarly you can put n number of components you are exporting from this. Now the consumer, the shell. So if I do the build on these things, a couple of things are already running. So when you do npm run build, what actually happens? Npm run build, it's using Webpack 5. Okay, when we do the build, what actually happens is it is creating these many bundles, and we can just see this what has been generated in the build folder. In the next there is a static, and here at the runtime you can see app remote entry. This is actually the components which you will allow to be shared by another component. So when you are going to consume, when the another application is going to consume, you have to provide the URL, the whole full-fledged domain URL till this file, which can be accessed publicly, so that another project can consume this component. This is actually a JS file you need to import. Like in the script tag, you just provide this .js file. Similarly here inside this now static runtime app to remote entry. These are actually two components you have built, and it's using this module federation, which has wrapped around a lot of things inside it. Now this is your consumer cell, and let's go to the next config. These are the two remote entries. I have f1 and f2. This container component itself is not exposing anything. We don't need, because it's a consumer app. F1 and f2. Now how can I import those components in my application? First of all, we need to run these applications. Npm run dev. This project is running on port 3000. All the applications are running. Now if you look into the code of this, because that is important, how we are consuming the components. So I just created a simple links, two different links. Inside the app.js, this is the new bar. Inside the new bar, I have two different links. Okay, I mean, you can say two different routes. And these are the component inside the pages. This is the earlier version of Next.js, not Next.js 13. So don't worry about it. Here I'm importing it. Import f1 Luigi, and here import 2, like Mario I'm importing from app2. So this is how I'm doing a dynamic import using next dynamic. And then once you got the component, you can render it like any other component. You can put this like any other component anywhere in the JSX. But this is how you are importing it. And the import references are defined in the next config. Okay, this is f1, this is f2, and from f1 you already know what you are exporting. So if you look at this next config, this is f2, right? Remote entry point 2, this is app2. I mean, you need to use the same mf config names, because this app2 reference is everywhere. When we look into this runtime file, I think I have seen this app2 many places. Yes, so I mean, this is how you will import it from the app2 reference. So you have to provide the appropriate references where you are consuming it in the shell container. These are both the components, and how it is rendering is, and finally one more part is in the document. I'm providing this locations. So now both the applications are running, right? This is file 1, this is file 2. So these are the remote locations from where I'm going to import both the components. This is the component 1, this is the component 2 from app2. So once it is there, now I can just do npm run dev and see what is happening on 3000, the container app. Okay, yes, this is the container app, and what it will do is it's loading both the components first. You can see both the JS files, app1 remote entry, app2 remote entry, and then once it is there, it knows what needs to render when I click on this load Mario and when I click on load Luigi. So if I reload, you can see this component rendered. It's just like a simple image. This is another component getting rendered from another app. Okay, this is taking a little time. Yeah, this is how it works. This is just a simple demo how we do it. I'm not a big fan of module federation and how it really works, but just for a demo purpose, this is fine. This is how it works. But like, let's say if I wanted to export multiple components from app1, then it's really not a nice way for me, and I won't do it like this. But yeah, in edge case where you have to do it, there is no any other option, you are importing the components from multiple applications, then this is the right way of doing it. And you can import the components by marking them as exportable and import them into the shell container component. And you can ignore the names. It's like the consumer app, and these are the provider where you are actually exposing or exporting the components from. Okay, this is all about how we can achieve the micro front-end concept of something like this in just a real world using the module federation in the Webpack 5.